To be conscious of something means to know it, to understand it with your entire system. To be conscious of something doesn't mean to fleetingly think about it, to let it pass through your mind real fast. And it doesn't mean to be in a state of suffering over an object or a person. To be conscious means to understand thoroughly. And understand thoroughly because there is no entity, no individual, no personality there to misunderstand. Can't you see for yourself the way you're presently living, the wretched way you're presently living, the defeated way you're presently living? Can't you see that there is a so-called person, a self, a personality there who does not understand anything? There is you, and there's misunderstanding, and you say, or you groan and you sigh, and you say, I don't know what life is all about. I can't figure it out. I don't know why I can't have my way. I have all these marvelous desires, and everyone on earth seems determined to block me. This is what you're saying, whether you are conscious of it or not. Now, I wanted to explain the term awareness, consciousness, understanding, insight just a little bit for you at the start so that you can apply it to the next point. And here it is, in the form of a question. Are you conscious of how everyone has problems? Now, you'll say, well, sure, I know everyone has problems. You don't. See, you answered too fast. You don't know deeply, thoroughly, altogether, that this is a horribly suffering, sick world. And the reason you don't know it, because you don't know how badly off you are. Not having any consciousness, any insight into your own emptiness, you can't look out into the world and see how sorrowful other people are because you're always thinking about yourself and no one else. And don't you ever again say that you're thoughtful or care for other people, because you don't. You don't know what it means to care for them. You're so utterly, completely, painfully self-centered. But we have a start. And we're on the way now. So I'll ask you again. Stated in a little bit different way this time. Can you begin to understand, first of all, that everyone you meet, everyone you live with, everyone you talk with, work with, everyone is loaded with troubles that they don't know what to do with? Well, look at their faces. Look how sad they are. Look how they chase around looking for solutions, looking for something that'll ease the pain a little bit, just as you do. Next, try to be conscious, and you'll learn how to do that if you work long and hard enough. Try to be conscious that not only do people have thousands of difficulties and quandaries, do they have them? You better pay attention. I'm going to say next. It'll save you a lot of grief. Not only do they have all these difficulties, but they want you to supply the solutions. You supply the answers when you don't have the answers for yourself? Maybe I better tell you something right now. No one that you see in that world out there has the answers to anything. They don't have the answers to economics, the economic woes of the nation, of the world. They don't have the answer to people going out and hurting each other, assaulting each other. They don't have the answer to crime, to alcoholism, to drugs. No one you know out there has the answers to anything. They are all fakes. Just like you are. Now, what do you expect of this society when this is the way it is? When you refuse to break off and break away from it. When you want to play the same sick game that they're playing out there. What do you expect in this world when you are causing all the grief that you complain about and continue to suffer from? I am talking about you looking at me and listening to me right now. Yes, you. Not your neighbor. Not some other group, not some organization. They're just as bad off as you are. Do you know what I'm doing right now? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm looking for one man or for one woman who will be true. One individual who will listen to what is being said and say, yes, that is right, it's absolutely true, I see it, I didn't want to admit it for years, I know it's true, and I am not going to be a part of society anymore because I'm not going to be a part of my own sickness anymore. Whether I find one or not is not my concern. My concern is telling you the facts about yourself. And how you can change those facts if you want to. If you just show a little right initiative in the right direction so that the truth can begin to come to you and begin to change you. You're not going to change the way you're doing it now, all wrapped up in yourself, angry, insisting that you already have the answers. Boy and girl, you're really suffering from your answers, aren't you? How'd you sleep last night? Some of you didn't sleep at all, did you? You couldn't shut your mind off, could you? Some of you have chronic headaches. Some of you constantly hate someone. Some of you want to fight all the time. Some of you want to argue. Some of you want to prove that you're right when you're always wrong. Let's go to Holland for an illustration. I was thinking about this afternoon. Here's a bunch of windmills, a number of windmills in Holland, whirling in the wind, pumping water or whatever they do, grinding grain or whatever they do or used to do. And all of a sudden, all these 100 or more windmills stop. And all the people look around and they say, what happened to the windmills? They're not producing anything anymore. They're not doing constructive work anymore. I wonder what's the matter. And so they all go out, all of them get together, a couple hundred people, and listen to me, and listen to what they say. They say, well, it must be the fault of the wind. There's not a strong enough wind to make the windmills turn around. Someone else says, well, someone put a curse on the windmills and they've broken down. Every single one of them say some outside cause has caused them to break down and not produce anymore. Which is what you're doing. You're looking outside of yourself. See, now maybe there was one intelligent man in that whole group that said, now let's see, my windmill broke down. It's not operating properly, not doing what it's supposed to do. And it makes me unhappy. So maybe I'd better look inside the windmill itself and see where it has broken down internally. Maybe that is where the problem is. And if that one intelligent, honest, decent man does that, his windmill is going to work again. It's going to become creative for him again. Do you know who all the other couple hundred people are who refuse to do that, to investigate internally? They are society as it now operates. Lying, lying, lying. Finding the enemy outside of themselves. What is it? The other political party, an ex-spouse, what they call bad luck. There's always an enemy out there that has to be defeated, isn't there? The enemy is never inside, so they think. So I'm giving you, all of you now, watching and listening, a great opportunity to no longer be a part of sick society. And if you're not, there's further good news. If you're not a part of society, you won't be as miserable as they are. You're miserable now. You all are. Every one of you. You know that. We've come to that agreement, haven't we, that you're miserable? Well, you know you are. Now, why do you suppose you are? Because you lie about the cause. So I'll tell you the real cause. And when you see the real cause, if you become conscious of that, you can become conscious of the solution. The cause is you have had the habit, picked up from society, from other people, from people who are sick. You've got the habit of getting mad when you could go into understanding. Let's slow down a little bit and look at that. Did it ever occur to you that instead of getting distressed or angry over any problem at all, just instead of getting distressed, try to understand it? Ah, too much for you, huh? A simple truth like that is far too much for you. You're afraid of it. And you don't even know that you're afraid of it because you won't go out of here and do that. I know you won't. Which is your tragedy. Which is your foolishness. Which is your folly. Which is your agony. I'll give it to you again. I'll give it to you the second time. Now you have a double excuse. No excuse for not listening and changing. If from this moment, right now, as I'm talking to you, if from this moment, the next time you have a difficulty, a confusion, a hurt, a jealousy, if the next time you have one of these self-punishing attitudes or emotion, if you try to understand the problem involved in it, if you try to understand the problem instead of fight it with anger, jealousy, the problem will go away. The problem has to go away because you're not clinging to it as you are now. It will dissolve, and as it dissolves, how delightful your life will be. You won't have all these people to fight anymore. But that's what you want, of course. That's what you hang on to it now. You want to have all these things to cry about. But you like to cry. Don't you like to cry? Nod your head. You know you do. How pathetic when you could be free of all tears. You talk about that sometimes, don't you? Oh, now, how nice it would be to be happy, and you do everything possible to prevent yourself from being happy and free of the tears. All right, for the third time, you do a little thinking about this now because I'll phrase it in a little different way. The next time you have a blockage, a problem, a difficulty, why don't you try to understand why you have it instead of getting mad? Come on, look, I'm talking to you. I'm asking you a question. Why not? Why don't you do that? Fourth time. The next time something bothers you, why don't you turn internally and say, why am I churning like this? Why am I nervous like this? Why don't you do that so that you can understand the problem out of existence instead of flare up and blame something outside of yourself? Why don't you do it? I'm still looking. I'm still looking for that one man or that one woman who will do that. You you yourself must determine, listen to me, determine whether your life is worthwhile the way you're now living it. Come on, yes or no? Yes or no? You. You're a pretty good actor, aren't you? You're a pretty good actress, aren't you? Let me tell you something. You dramatic stage performers. You're not kidding yourself, and you know it. You go out of here and you scorn truth. Who do you think's going to suffer from it? I'll tell you, I'm not going to. I'm not going to join you. I'll give you one guess as who's going to pay the price for it, and that's you. Aren't you beginning to get excited about what I'm talking about? Did you ever hear anything more cheery? More positive? Isn't it a positive fact that you don't have to be you anymore? That thought scares you, doesn't it? See, the trouble is, you're so ignorant. You don't even know what I have been telling you now in the last several minutes. You don't even know that it has terrified you. You don't know that because you're not conscious. But I know it. I'm going to hammer at you until that one man or that one woman doesn't want to be a liar anymore, doesn't want to have a hard, vicious face anymore, but wants to, listen to this, but wants to turn into a good, decent, truly peaceful, truly innocent, truly spiritual human being. I'm going to give you something very advanced next. Believe me, this is way up in the sky. But follow me on it. And this will give you a glimpse of the goodness, the lightness that you can have if you pass through these steps that we've covered before, becoming conscious of what a wreck you are. Well, you're a wreck. You know that? Here it is. At a certain very lofty elevation, which is a truly spiritual life, not ordinary religion, which is hypocrisy, and a dreadful thing. And only terrible people are involved in religious hypocrisy. Something that you can experience personally, each one of you, if you go that far, every day, every hour, every minute, even every second. Now I'll tell you what it is. It's a new kind of daily existence for you, in which you have no enemies, nothing to flare up against, no hatreds at all like you now have, in which you live very lightly and freely. Now, when you tell people this, they become scared, just as you're scared and don't even see it because you're unconscious human beings. They become afraid that you're going to take their life away from them. Absolutely! I'm doing my best to take away your misery, and you're fighting me. I can see it in your faces. I can see it in your life. I can see it in the way you walk around the room, that you're afraid to let go of your miserable, wretched little life. Please, don't you have any intelligence at all? Why do you value that? Why do you value being depressed? You have no business being depressed over anything. You have no business being angry at anything. You have no business being neurotic at anything. I'll get you sooner or later. Now I'm going to describe something that is hardly describable, but which can be experienced. And if you're that man or woman I'm looking for, you can experience it. It's a kind of a life in which you alternate, you go back and forth between two worlds. One of these worlds is the world of practical thought. Now you know what practical thought is, don't you? When you work down at your office, or you take care of your business, or you stay home, take care of the children, you have practical thought. You have to cook the dinner at noon, the lunch at noon. You have to drive the car somewhere to go some shopping. You have to make a phone call to take care of some business or something. Practical thought that carries your life forth in daily events, correct? No problem there. Do you understand that? All right. Now, I didn't say negative thought. I didn't say angry thought, hostile thought, evil thought. I said practical thought. Now, there is no self-harm in you carrying forth in practical thought, carrying on with everyday business. Whatever you have to do, you think about it and you do it. All right. Now, everyone on earth has, to one degree or another, practical thought, so it's hardly a spiritual life yet. But you are here on this earth as a human being. You are a social human being. And you mingle with other people, and you mingle with homes and with business projects and so on. You mingle with those, so you have to have practical thought to get along in this world. And so you do have that now. But unfortunately, it's overwhelmed by impractical thought of wrong feelings, of foolish, stupid ambitions in which you want to get ahead of someone. And worst of all, the stupid thought that you have to prove that you are right. You are never going to do it. You're just going to wreck yourself in the process. You see, I'll tell you why very briefly. There is no one there who has to prove that he is right. You do not have a self that needs to prove that it knows more than anyone else, that the other person is wrong, and you know what you're doing, and he doesn't know what he's doing. There is no such entity at all in any human being, in you or in me or in anyone. I've just given you the most fantastic secret of liberation you've ever heard in your life. Listen to it. Try to understand. Put understanding ahead of everything else, as we discussed a little bit earlier. So you have a little bit of practical thought when it's not being interfered with by all the wrong things inside of you. But still, that is not spirituality. You're still afraid. Because thinking, ordinary thinking and practical, even practical thought is in time. It's not in eternity. Now, I said that you alternate between two different worlds. And I've given you the one of them, the world of ordinary, usual thought, where you go through your day of cooking dinner or wherever. Now, the other one, I'm going to describe it to you, but you will not understand it because you can't understand it with thought. You can't understand it with practical thought. You can't understand it with negative thought at all. What you can do, however, is be that one man or woman who wants to rise above yourself and enter this other world, which is called, you can call it in several ways if you want, but it is called a world of pure insight. See, your thought is busy over there. Thoughts colliding with each other. Now this other world, which is not a thought at all, but which is a world of consciousness. Remember we talked about that at the start? A world of quiet insight where you simply and completely see and understand. In this state, you're not caught up in the world. And yes, you still go to the office, and you still take care of the children. You're still married or single or whatever it is. You still go through your social life and the business life, whatever it may be. But you're not See if this makes you glad. You're not a part of the madness of the social world out there anymore. So you alternate all day long between thinking I have to go shopping, or I have to take care of this business project, or I have to take this trip, or whatever it is. That's practical thought. And when you don't have to be in practical thought at all because you're in a situation where you don't have to be, maybe you're in the airplane or you're a passenger in the bus or just around the house quietly for a little bit, I'll tell you that you can enter this other world which has no usual you in it at all, but which simply sees and knows and is completely at peace. This is called the truly spiritual life. Not everyone attains this. As a matter of fact, very few attain it. But you can have it if you want it badly enough, if you seek hard enough for it and yield yourself to truth.